I'm Enzo.
And I'm Reina.
And this is the Date Night Horror Show. 2024.
Damn.
What do you think?
Happy New Year, everybody.
How are you feeling about the year?
I feel good. I always feel good going into the new year.
Yeah, same. I know, a lot of people think that resolutions are bullshit, which they kind of are. Mm-hmm. I tend to not make resolutions. I make plans, son.
Oh my God.
I make plans. I make plans and I tend to stick to them, actually. So
is there a plan that you can share?
Yeah. So I want to do as much makeup art as possible. Mm-hmm. So that's a plan that I've done in the past. I've said to myself in the past, and I've stuck to it. And speaking of, we're gonna go to CreepyCon here in LA at the beginning of February. So I'm already sticking to my plan, not my resolution, but my plan.
That's true.
So, and I've heard that the best way to deal with these, intentions of the new year is to try to work on what you've already started instead of like doing this big grand thing. Yeah. So I've been working on my room, which you've helped me a lot with.
Your room sounds weird.
Yeah, it's really my office. I do work from home there, and I also do my music and art in there as well.
Yeah.
And I'm horrifying it a lot more. There's a lot more horror art up, mm-hmm. and I'm organizing things. And recently, you've been helping me do more with that. Mm-hmm. So right there, my plans are already working. So that's my advice to everyone. Don't make resolutions, make plans.
Yeah.
And small steps.
Yeah, so that's the important part, small steps.
Yeah. So are there any plans you have in the new year?
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe in resolutions either because I never keep them.
Yeah, you probably do. You're just being hard on yourself.
They're always the same, and then it's like, but I feel like my two biggest intentions, because they're not plans.
Yeah, there you go, intentions.
Are to be a little better organized in our home.
Which you've already started, so you're already succeeding.
Yes. And to work on zhuzhing our home. It needs a little zhuzh.
Oh, yeah, we're already doing that as well.
It needs a little zhuzh.
And
here and there.
We've already stacked a few plans. We're finishing up the backyard. We're doing things to one of the bathrooms. So we already have that stuff lined up. So we're already succeeding.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the right attitude to hit 2024 with. We're already succeeding. Let's keep the momentum going.
My last one is to kick my own ass out of my house more.
I agree.
Because, I don't know. I know everyone was like, yeah, COVID's over and all. I can go out now and me. I was like, I just want to stay in my house.
Yeah,
so I need to kick
nesting.
my own ass out of my house.
It's really funny because when COVID hit, Reina and I sat down. We're like, okay, well, if we're going to be hunkered down here, what can we do to make this bearable? Because we knew that it was going to last a little more than a year because there's... as it did, there was more residual time. So we're like, oh, well, let's improve the backyard, which we did. Let's improve our screening room garage so we can watch our movies in there, which we did. So now we have a movie theater area where we can watch movies, so we don't need to go to the theater. We do karaoke in there. And then there's even arcade games in here, so... because
we don't need to leave.
A video game developer.
That's bad.
Yeah, so now we're in a situation where we're not going anywhere. Like we were a lot more active before COVID, and now we're trying to come up out of that. It's like try and experience things more outside of the house. So,
and we are going on vacation. That's the other one.
Oh hell yeah!
We're going on vacation. We haven't been on vacation since before COVID.
Yeah, because again, we ended up focusing on the home, and then kind of hunkered down in there. But yeah, I agree with you. I definitely want to go out of the country this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. So I figured this episode could be our wrap up of 2023. Mm-hmm. It was a great year for horror. A lot of great horror films. A lot of fun things we did that are horror related. But I think the best way to work backwards is to talk about the holidays and then and take it from there. So what do you think?
Sounds good. So yeah, Christmas. We talked about Christmas in our last episode.
Yes.
And this one did not disappoint.
Yeah, there were good things and bad things about it. I think one of the good things was, we got to see everyone.
Yeah.
So this holiday season started a little bittersweet from my side of the family. My mom fell and fractured her femur bone, so she had to have surgery for that. And then she had to have physical therapy. So she spent her time in the hospital, which sucked. Of course, all of us came to visit her.
It did suck.
But it was not fun to have that happen right before the holidays were going to start.
Days
so
before.
yeah,
and then on my side of the family, I had a whole chunk of them that live about a couple hours away from our hometown, which is where we all get together, and they all one by one got like that respiratory whatever
so
was
everyone
going around
sick there.
So they were all sick and couldn't come, so I didn't see a lot of my family members, which sucked. My sister and my niece, nephew, and their children and families. So that sucked.
Yeah. I mean, we had seen them in early December, which was great. I'm glad that happened. So it wasn't as bad because I love that side of the family as well. So for all of you who are wondering, my grand nephew Diego, we were planning to do a Grinch thing with him, and
Oh man.
again, I make plans and I make those plans happen. I did dress as the Grinch,
You looked awesome.
but it scared the crap out of
He
me.
hated it. It was so sad.
Yeah,
Oh, it was heartbreaking.
it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. And I felt bad for him. I didn't want to scare him. I know how traumatic very early childhood experiences can be. And I was convinced that he would run to me. I thought he
His
was going to be
mother was
excited.
convinced he would run to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But, it wasn't a wash. I was able to get these amazing videos
Oh my
that I
God, so
posted on
funny.
TikTok of the Grinch. And I realized that people really love the Grinch.
he's awesome.
Yeah, there's
What's not to love about the Grinch?
there was a whole subset of people just like me who identify more with the Grinch than with Santa Claus. And
Because he's much cooler. He's more punk.
yeah, if you go to the Date Night Horror Show, look for us on TikTok.
Yeah.
The Date Night Horror Show. You can see some of these Grinch videos, and some of them went sort of semi-viral, which was kind of fun.
They're
But
so funny.
yeah, and what's funny is that when I kept looking at my own videos or our videos of the Grinch, I started getting videos of other people's Grinches, and they were pretty awesome as well. There's this one guy who does the Grinch in Universal Studios Orlando.
Oh, wow.
And he's fan-fucking-tastic. Like, he's really in character. And what's neat about him is he's probably of Cuban descent. Because there's so many videos where some people try to throw him off and start speaking Spanish to him, and he starts insulting them in Spanish.
I love it.
And it's great. He doesn't lose the voice or anything.
Wow.
And it's the Grinch in Spanish, which is so
That's cool.
awesome. And you can find those on TikTok if you search. And this guy's great. And it's super funny because people will come to him and they'll bring him an onion.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So he can bite into it. And
he does?
Well, the first thing he does is he's like, "You take the first bite." Like he'll say stuff like that. And some people will take that bite.
No way. That's hilarious.
But a lot of the times he saves it and he puts it on his tree because he has a tree of onions.
Man. Gross.
So cool. It was just
That's
so
gross,
cool.
but it is cool.
I just feel it's so funny because when I posted my videos, again, I was able to see all these other people's videos and all these different takes on the Grinch.
Yeah.
And it was like opening a door to this other universe online. There's some people who dress as the Grinch and they scare the kids. They'll come into the house and just start stealing everything.
Those are hilarious.
And some kids violently fight them
love
off.
that. I love that.
So it was like WWF kind of videos. And I saw these before doing the Diego thing, with my nephew. And I'm like, well, I don't want to tone like that. I want to be playful with him.
Yeah.
And, make sure he enjoys it as much as possible.
He's a little guy, so.
Yeah. And I also wanted to really stay in character, and I wanted to convince him that I was the Grinch, right?
I think you did.
So before before going to my niece's home, I was like psyching myself out. Like I was like getting myself in the headspace of the Grinch. And you sort of start, you start thinking about like how, how do I express myself? Like he has a sing-songy kind of voice. And then just the things he says, what he focuses on. I was trying to get into that headspace.
Yeah.
So I get to the door, you walk in, you're dressed as a Who, right?
Yeah.
I'm hidden in the back. My sisters go with you, and then they prepped Diego to come to the door, right? So I'm waiting at the door.
Oh, man.
And when he
I thought
opens...
he was going to hate me forever because I'm the one who was like, Diego, there's someone here for you at the door. Oh, my God. I thought he's going to hate me forever.
I think you're right. I think he was expecting Santa Claus.
I think he
said
was.
That.
I think he was.
So when he sees the Grinch, he's like, "Oh, what a jip!" But
he was terrified.
I'm such a bad gauge when it comes to scary stuff because when I was a little boy, even his age, I liked scary stuff. So maybe the makeup was a little scary.
I don't think that's what it was. I think. He watches The Grinch, so let me preface with that because he watches The Grinch every year. He's watched The Grinch the past couple of years. So there was a time, I believe, last year where they came across like an animatronic Grinch, which was adult size, and he loved it.
Yeah.
So I think what his father said was true. It's one thing to see the Grinch on the screen, but to have him in front of you, I guess was a little too much. Yeah,
it's really sad too because like when he starts crying, I'm like, okay, he's just sort of whimpering, but then he let out this really like sad cry, and I was like, oh yeah, this isn't gonna work out.
It was over.
And then so I was after that happened, he wouldn't come out if I was out there. So I was forced to take the makeup off if I wanted to spend time with him, which of course I did want to spend time with him.
Yeah, so and it was Christmas Eve, so
and
I spent it with family.
Exactly. So I took the makeup off, and I even did like this reverse time lapse video. I might post that cool. later. And I came outside, and I'm like, "Hey, Diego, it's me. It's your uncle," And he looks at me, and then he looks at my legs because my legs are still Grinchy, right? And he keeps staring down at my legs, which is super funny. But I couldn't do anything. I didn't have another pair of clothes, and I still had a makeup residue, so I looked all weird.
They kept calling you Bad Santa.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Which, oh my God, I would totally dress as Bad Santa.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a fun and funny memory. I think I'm going to wait like 5 years and try it again.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoyed dressing as the Grinch.
Yeah, it was fun.
I could really get into the headspace of the Grinch because a lot of the times over the holidays I sort of feel Grinchy. So.
Yeah, it was fun. I think, definitely in a few years, he'll be ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm glad I'm glad I gave it a try. And again, any excuse to do makeup art is a good excuse. Yeah. In my opinion.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think to showcase and review 2023's horror movies that we loved, I figured we could do the whole Sinister Six thing.
Sounds good.
Our 6 favorite horror movies that we enjoyed the most in 2023, 3 from you, 3 from me, and I figured we'd do it that way.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Do you want to start?
Sure. So my first one is Cobweb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's the one where the little boy, he's around 8, hears weird things in the walls, and he's trying to figure out what it is. And he and his parents are kind of creepy. I didn't know what to expect when we first started watching it, and I think it started out a little slow.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. This is like a nice piece of Halloween candy. Like, it's not setting the world on fire, but it's not. It's very satisfying for someone who's a big horror fan like you are. I feel like it's an anthology mashup of a lot of different elements. It reminds me of The Shining. It reminds me of The Babadook. It reminds me of The Ring. It has all these elements mashed up together in a really fun, satisfying way. And then it has all the Halloween visual tropes, the jack-o'-lanterns, the
Yeah.
old creaky old house. It was a
Yeah,
lot
the
of fun.
creepy parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's one of those that are just like when you want to watch a movie at home.
Yeah.
It's really, I thought it was just one of those that just knocked it out of the park for me.
Yeah, very much so.
And you can find it on Hulu or Prime.
Yep.
So
Cool.
that's what's great. So what's your first one, Enzo?
So the first one that pops into my head is Infinity Pool.
Oh yeah,
Brandon Cronenberg. Maya Goth is in it. One of the Skarsgårds are in
oh
it.
that's right.
Yeah, I thought this film was really, really interesting and thought-provoking. What is privilege in the future? What does that look like? And the premise of it is so interesting. It's like, who is above the law? And the way it depicts a cloned scenario is very interesting. It's got a lot of sexuality in it. It's twisted. The narrative drops away. Nightmarish. Idyllic at times as well. I really like this film. I think Brandon is a chip off the old block.
Yeah,
And I'm
I
a
thought-
big fan.
Yeah, I thought visually it was really nice.
Yeah.
Had a lot of really nice visuals.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your next one?
The next one I'm going to choose is Influencer.
Oh, nice.
Because
I love this movie.
when you suggested we watched it, just the name alone, I was like,
Yeah, I had the same feelings.
yeah. But you were like, give it a chance. Because we're always trying to find new horror movies to watch because at some point we kind of run out.
Yeah.
And it did not disappoint. It was so good. So it's about this young woman who is an influencer that travels around
Yeah.
solo. But in this, she's supposed to meet up with her boyfriend eventually.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets mixed weird. But she meets this stranger
Yep.
and all hell breaks loose.
Oh my God, it's so good.
All hell breaks loose.
I love this movie. It has the skeleton of a thriller, but then there are key moments in the film where it's like, nope, I'm a horror movie.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like it takes it there. Like it goes dark.
So what I liked, the woman who the story starts out about as the influencer who's traveling around and eventually meeting up with her boyfriend who falls into bad company.
Yeah.
They wrote her not obnoxious. Like they wrote her about an influencer. That's her job. That's the thing she's doing. So she's not. I feel like sometimes when it comes to roles like that, they kind of make them very unlikable.
Yeah.
And they did a good job of making her likable where you root for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons I was skeptical about the movie is that I thought they would write the characters in a wooden sort of way, but they didn't. There are things that are likable about all the characters and other things that are kind of annoying as well. So it's a good balance. And I think there's a lot of truth to what they show in the film. People will show that they're having this jet set life, but at the end of the day, it's really a lot of work, you know, constantly thinking about content and they show that. Another thing I like is that the villain in the film, I don't want to give away too much, also is very intelligent and sort of represents what people think about influencers, like sort of the detesting angle of it. But then through the course of the film, you see what she's willing to do with that. And that's uncomfortable and creepy.
She's very creepy.
Oh my God, it's a great film. I love it. It's such a unique experience and it's so much better than I thought it was going to be. And I like that you have it top of 2023.
Yeah, it's a really fun one. AMC Plus if you have it, or Prime is what it's on. So take a look, see.
Nice.
What's your next one?
So my next one is When Evil Lurks.
Nice.
Yeah.
I liked that one.
Yeah, this is a film out of Argentina. It is entirely in Spanish, which is cool for us because we both speak Spanish. But I think you can get like a dubbed version as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This movie's getting a lot of buzz. It's on Shudder. it had a theatrical release.
It did.
A small one. And it got everyone talking about it. So basically, what's interesting about this film is that it does possession in a very interesting sort of way, almost like a viral sort of way. Imagine if possession was spread like how a zombie virus would be spread. And it starts off telling the story of these two brothers who are living sort of a rural life. And they find out that an infected person is in the vicinity. And I guess the world building kind of shows that this sort of danger has been around for a long time. So they're weary of it. And they understand that they need to be very serious about
Well, it ties in kind of their belief in religion and possession. And
Yeah.
so I think they tie that in really nicely.
Yeah, but they do a lot of things that are transgressive. So, like,
Definitely.
there are story elements where, they imply that, churches are no longer around, that sort of thing. But this is a straight possession horror film.
Yes.
What I love about the film is that it goes places that
So
are
gross.
very,
So gross.
very nasty
Yes.
visually, but then also places that are conceptually very, very dark. And I think that's why
Uncomfortable.
I think that's why it got so much buzz, because the horror hounds were looking for something that will
We want those
shock us.
kills. Or like what I say, show your work. It shows their work.
it shows their work for sure. It's funny too, because my mom came to visit around
Oh my God, that was
Thanksgiving,
hilarious.
and my mom is one of the reasons I like horror films. We used to watch horror films when I was growing up, and I told her, I'm like, I have this horror movie that's entirely in Spanish. And of course, Spanish is her first language. So I was excited to put it on
That
for
was
her.
hilarious, dude.
Yeah. And she made it about 20 minutes in. There's a very shocking scene involving a goat. If you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. And after that moment, she's like, no me gusta.
Apágalo.
Apágalo.
So turn it off.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's a sign of a good horror movie. I think my mom's always leaned more into the thriller side of horror. I think
Maybe the classics.
the first movie I remember watching with her is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which is more on the thriller side. But I think I developed my taste for subtle creepy from that film very early on. But yeah, I guess this film was a little too intense for her.
It is intense. It is an intense movie.
Yeah, very much so. And I think in Spanish, hearing it in Spanish, it makes it a little more potent for me for some reason.
For sure. I mean, it does. And then, like I said, it kind of also reaches into your bag of, religious beliefs. Like, how you feel about possession, how you feel about rituals and all those sort of things. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And then all the characters in the film feel very grounded from a Latin family standpoint. So it just felt really potent to me because it gets really bloody, really intense.
Very.
So I love it. Highly recommend it. All you horror hounds who like, in higher intensity levels, watch this film. It's on Shudder. When Evil Lurks. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your last one?
My last one's Dark Harvest.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I thought that was so much fun and perfect for the season. So it's about this really weird tradition of the young men in this small town that has to kill this monster before it reaches their local church.
Yeah.
Or if they do not do that before it reaches their church, they'll have a bad harvest.
Yeah.
And then it just comes with a bunch of twists that I won't get into so that I don't spoil anything. But it was such a fun Halloween movie that we're definitely going to make it a tradition.
Yeah, I bought it.
Yeah.
I bought it. Amazon had a sale on it a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get it for that price. So yeah, I loved how it was stylized. It reminded me of Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Hunger Games. It reminded me of The Purge a little bit. And then the period part of it reminded me of The Outsiders, film like that. Really fun
even
film.
had some racial commentary in there as well.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really well-rounded, fun movie that hopefully is going to be a part 2 too.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah.
They left it open for it, so hopefully that'll
Yeah,
happen.
absolutely.
So what's your last one, Enzo?
So my last one is, I think it's the movie that you and I both enjoyed the most this year. Talk to Me.
I loved that movie.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I really loved that movie.
Another great possession film with a very, very fresh take. It comes out of Australia. It follows these teenagers who are using this embalmed hand to sort of use it like a Ouija board,
Right.
to contact the spirit realm. Of course, things go pretty bad very quickly, and this film is just so good at capturing the teenager experience. All the teenage scenarios I feel are familiar to me. You know, kids being a little reckless, the different personality types in the room reminded me a lot of situations I've been in.
Yeah.
The use of the hand is almost like a metaphor for drug taking or drinking. And I thought because of that, it felt very plausible. But then when the supernatural elements happen, they're really, really well done and very clever, and visceral. They did a really good job of bridging the spiritual threat with the physical.
Yeah.
So they did a fantastic job. And then the way the film wraps itself up at the end is great. This is going to be a new classic for sure. It's hitting a lot of people's top 10 lists. I love this film. Talk to Me. I don't think it's streaming on anything yet.
No,
but
I
you
think
can,
it's still popular. I think people are still watching it.
yeah. What I would recommend is to rent it or buy it. If you're a horror hound, I would buy it because it's really good. We've already seen it a few times after buying it. So yeah, Talk to Me was my favorite of last year.
Yeah, it was so good. I agree with you on the metaphor of the hand being like maybe for drugs or drinking, but I think it also tied in like those games you would play at sleepovers, like
Absolutely.
you know, the Ouija board or
Light as a
Bloody
board.
Mary or light as a feather or one of those, where you would participate because you thought it was all bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So fun. They did such a good job with
Really
that.
good job.
So yeah, check that one out. So I have a couple honorable mentions.
Okay, let's hear them.
My in the theater honorable mention was Evil Dead Rise.
Oh yeah.
We went to see it in the theater and it was super, super fun. We had a great crowd, and that movie is just like, crazy. It's
So
just
much fun.
really intense, over the top.
Yeah.
If you know the Evil Dead films, you know what you're going to get. I think what's neat about this one is it centers around a family, and the family is very, very cool.
You like them a lot.
The mom's a tattoo artist. Her sister's a roadie. One of her sons is a DJ. Like everyone is cool, kind of counterculture family
Yeah.
that, you and I can relate to. And they just do a really good job of making you like the family. And then, of course, all hell breaks loose, literally. This film is awesome and very intense. And it's the kind of horror film for people who love horror films. So I really recommend that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. It was just one of those, again, just really fun to watch, like all of the Evil Deads are. But I have to say, I might have liked this one the best out of all of them. I just enjoyed this one the most.
Yeah, it's funny. Some people really liked the remake more than this one. I as far as intensity level, maybe, but this one just felt so complete. The ideas were just there, and the family was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I have a couple other honorable
Okay, let's
mentions.
hear it, because I have one that I want to talk about. That's kind of a surprise one.
Okay, cool. Do you want to do that now?
Sure. So yeah, the one that I wanted to mention, and it's not for horror hounds or for slasher lovers like myself,
Yeah.
but I thought it was really fun, especially if you're bored on a weekend and you just want to watch something fun, was Totally Killer.
Okay. Yeah, that was fun.
I thought it was really cute. I mean, again, it wasn't like bloody or anything. It's like, it was kind of on the light side, but I think what I liked about it was she goes back to the 80s.
Yeah,
So of course that's fun because I'm a child of the 80s.
absolutely.
And
yeah.
so all of
They did a
that
good
was
job with
fun. And I thought the crossover was fun, like all the political incorrectness that she's like stunned by.
I loved that.
Yeah.
So we're 80s kids. So sometimes our grandnieces, I feel, are overly sensitive about everything.
Oh yeah.
But what I love about this movie is that it shows that they're right.
Yeah, it does.
They're absolutely right. Like, we are making strides. We are becoming more sensitive to more people.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. It's annoying at times, but they are right. And this movie really shows, like, yeah, we weren't so sensitive about a lot of things.
We just didn't know. We weren't educated on those things back then, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So-
those were funny because she'd be like, "Ooh, you can't say that." And it's what was cute about it was she wasn't overly annoying.
Yeah.
And then the 80s
great.
teenagers were kind of like, "Huh?" Like
Yeah.
they didn't know. Like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Yeah. And it brought back a lot of feelings too. Like, I thought,
Yeah.
man, I've been in situations similar to this where, yeah, it is pretty fucked up. I'm glad this new generation's coming up and thinking, how can we be better? That can't be a bad thing.
Yeah.
As long as it's not blindly doing it and there's thought into it, and I think there's a lot of validity to it.
Yeah.
And this film really depicts that very well and very funny too.
It does. So it has the funny part and that part, and then the kills aren't bad. I mean, they aren't like super sugar coated or anything, so they're not bad. Yeah, if you have an opportunity to watch it, Totally Killer. It's super cute.
That's on Prime, right?
It's on Prime.
Yeah, so you can stream it right away. Okay, cool. Yeah, my last honorable mention is Saw X.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I wanted to mention is, again, this franchise has been around for a long time. It's like, do we really need another Saw movie? But Saw 10, Saw X is actually pretty damn good. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised with that. So
Me too.
I had to mention it.
Me too.
Cool.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was also surprised by it.
Okay, so I want to ask you a couple other things.
Okay.
Do you have any big disappointments this year? Movies that you were excited about and they ended up disappointing you?
The biggest one of ever.
I think I know what you're going to say.
It's probably the same one that you have.
Yeah.
The Exorcist Believer.
Yeah, that was bad.
We were so anxious and excited to see this movie,
Yeah.
and it was a total disappointment.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. And I think what's frustrating for me is that it's setting up for the next two films, and because I'm a big fan of, the franchise in general, we're probably going to get dragged to the theater to see it.
100%.
And it's probably going to be similar, kind of lukewarm. I think there were some interesting ideas in it, but it didn't take into account that it's trying to follow the scariest movie ever made, and it just wasn't intense enough and needed to be way more intense. And you can listen to a full review of on a previous episode of Exorcist Believer. Just look for that in the title. My big disappointment is Pet Sematary Bloodlines.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
That was a Hulu original. You can stream it on Hulu. I love the story of Pet Sematary. It's one of my favorite King books because it deals with mourning in a very profound way. And this, oh my God, it took the basic premise and turned it into sort of like a zombie invasion.
Yeah.
And it cheapened the whole thing. And there's some good kills in there, but I feel like
Not
Pet
enough.
Sematary deserves more than that. Just kills. It's a very interesting concept. And yeah, I was very disappointed with the film.
Yeah, I was too. I expected more from it because sometimes the Hulu original movies are pretty good.
Yeah.
And like you said, the story, it's a good story. So yeah, I was really not feeling that one at all.
Yeah. Okay, then I have another question.
Okay.
What's your biggest horror surprise this year? Like what movies surprised you? I'll give you an example of one of mine. Cocaine Bear.
Oh, yeah.
So that movie came out of nowhere. I thought it was a joke originally, like, oh, is this even going to be made? And it got made, and it was very campy and ridiculous, but it was also very violent and gory. I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I thought, at first I was like, Cocaine Bear. This is going to be so... I thought it'd be like campy, silly.
Dude, and Elizabeth Banks, she directed it.
Yeah.
So she surprised me a lot.
Yeah, for sure. But I thought it was going to be like campy.
Mm-hmm. Which it was.
But it's still in a horror way. I
Yeah.
thought it'd just be campy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I thought I appreciated that it did have horror in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was, I loved it. You're right. That's a really good surprise one.
Yeah. Do you have one?
Yeah, I would probably say The Pope's Exorcist on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because we watched it just to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Almost. So we didn't have big expectations for it. I feel like but it turned out to be pretty good. And again, another possession one, obviously.
Yeah.
And then of course we watched that before watching Exorcist Believer because we're trying to get like in that mood too.
And guess what? I enjoyed it way more than Exorcist Believer.
That's what the surprise. Hello, you just spoiled my surprise.
Oh,
no,
sorry.
I'm just kidding. No, but he's right. That's what the surprise is that it was actually better
Yeah.
than Exorcist Believer. But yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't expect Russell Crowe to be horror,
Yeah.
and it was a really good movie.
Yeah, and it seemed like they set it up for them to want to do more of them. So
Yeah,
I'm in.
so.
I'm in. I thought Russell Crowe was great. He's a great actor, period.
He is.
And, it didn't impede the horror, and the horror was fun, and it was a well-made film, and you could tell it had a good budget. So a
actors
lot of
were
the
good.
effects were great, and it had some genuinely creepy moments.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a fan. I was very surprised by that one.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so what about best horror TV series? Do you have any?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was a good year for
it
for
really
horror
was.
on TV.
I hope this wasn't one of yours, but I really enjoyed The Last of Us.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. When Enzo first told me about The Last of Us, and it's a video game, which I have nothing against video games. My husband's in that industry. But I was like, okay. I don't know. I didn't know anything much about the premise of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, okay. But of course I'm going to watch it because he's like, you're going to love it. It's horror. Oh my gosh. And then it had Pedro Pascual in it. So of course I'm going to watch it
Yeah.
because I love him. So did not disappoint from beginning to end. I loved The Last of Us.
It's funny because when they announced it, that they were going to do it, I was worried because I thought people are already very zombie fatigued.
Yeah.
I mean, not us because we're horror hounds. I could watch 10 new zombie movies a week and I wouldn't be fatigued because I love zombies.
Yeah, me too. I'll watch anything zombie. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was worried that they would get overlooked because of the wake of how some people just can't stand zombies anymore because they've been overplayed for them. But oh my God, they did such a good job with the series, and they focused on the right things. They made it more about the story and the characters, which is the biggest strengths of the games. But then they took their time to make sure that, the zombie biology and world building was there. And it was just awesome. I loved that series, and I look forward to the second season.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, because there's a lot more to tell story-wise, and they did a great job with it. Loved it.
Yeah, I loved all of the characters, and it was nominated for a few Golden Globes, which is awesome.
That's great.
That means it's getting its recognition, which is awesome.
Yeah, when horror gets any sort of accolades, it's always good for the genre.
Oh,
So,
100. Never, because it never does.
right, exactly.
What about you, Enzo?
So my choice is Fall of the House of Usher
Oh, yeah.
on Netflix. Mike Flanagan, can't go wrong. Edgar Allan Poe influenced the whole series. Fan-fucking-tastic.
So good.
Elegant, creepy, provocative. Like, it was just it. This is what good, mature, well-funded horror should be. Very thought-provoking, amazing dialogue, awesome nods to Poe's work.
Yeah.
You know, it's just lots of really great actor moments. Lots of really great creepy moments. Like, this is what great horror is. Flanagan is so great. Like,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I really liked it too. I thought the kills were really interesting, very different. It's almost like the way I classify elegant goth. That's
Yeah.
what I felt like this was. It was kind
Very elegant horror.
of, yeah,
for
very
sure.
elegant horror.
For sure. And what's great is that it shows how things can be very elevated and artistic and then have moments of pure visceral shock. Like, there's moments in there where the actor is going off and doing this big monologue, and then the most scary thing happens, like right in the middle of it. Like, that is horror to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Flanagan's so great. Okay. So I have a couple of honorable mentions.
Okay.
So my first one is Daryl Dixon.
Oh, I loved this series.
And again, similar to Last of Us, you know, they're dealing with years of zombie fatigue, years of Walking Dead fatigue. So I wasn't expecting much from Daryl Dixon, to be honest with you. But the change of locale, using France, just reinvigorated everything. And I do think cultures would handle it differently. And I think this series shows that.
Definitely. Yeah, for me, I'm going to be really honest and I listen. Zombies is my thing. Like, Enzo loves vampires, I love zombies. But I will even tell you I was a little I wasn't zombie fatigued, but I was Walking Dead fatigued.
Yeah, me too.
Although I love the character, I love Daryl Dixon's character a lot. But I wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure how they would handle his story. And
Yeah.
so I was pleasantly surprised, and I can't wait till it comes back to continue watching it. And for all the same reasons, I love that it was in another country.
And then they used a lot of European talent, both the zombies and even cinematographers and things like that. And it shows.
Yeah, 'cause it feels authentic.
shows. Yeah.
It feels very authentic. So it really immerses you into that culture. And it even shows how he deals with being immersed in that different culture and how they handle things.
And they did a lot of smart stuff, like the fact that they were willing to not have Daryl in his vest, like that to me is like, okay, we're gonna burn it all down and do it over again. And I think that's really great. I think that's what exactly what The Walking Dead needed, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, really good.
And of course, the Daryl Dixon series is on AMC and AMC Plus. Big recommend.
Watch it. It's so good. So do you have another honorable mention?
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this earlier. The Dragula season 5.
I love the Boulet brothers so much.
Yeah,
I think they're like the coolest representation of horror.
absolutely.
I love them so much. Horror hosts. They're awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like this season's been really good. The competitors are really interesting.
So talented.
A lot of outside the box kind of stuff going on. And I've just thoroughly enjoyed this season a lot.
So for those of you that are not sure, have not heard of Dragula, so Dragula is a drag contest, but alternative drag contest. so it has horror elements in it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So good. And of course, the Boulet brothers are the creators, directors, and hosts of it. And they have really amazing guest judges on there. And we're in season 5. So that means there's 4 other seasons that y'all need to catch up on if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, we highly recommend it. If you're at all into cosplay or any of that stuff, makeup art, it's one of the reasons I love watching it. Lots of outside the box ideas in how they construct their costumes and their designs, of course. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So much talent on that show.
Dragula. Yeah.
So much talent on that show. It's cool because they'll do competition, so every week it's a different theme, and just to see what the competitors come up with is amazing.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And they all do their own stuff, their own makeup, their own costume design, their own sewing and putting together. So it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, and there's a whole other element of the show as well, which is sort of like Fear Factor.
Oh, yeah.
They have to do these fright challenges to stay in the competition. And, you know, they'll do things like bungee jump in the middle of the night, all sorts of stuff. They have to eat certain nasty things like a la Fear Factor.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really edgy and fun. It's sort of like a punk rock version of Project Runway or RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Super cool.
So great.
And that is on Shudder. So take a look. It's so good. I thank everyone for listening, and hopefully there's so much more to come for 2024 in the horror arena with stuff we already know that's coming up that we're going to participate in. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, and one final thing. If you're on TikTok, look for us on TikTok. You can see all our videos on there. Lots of content already on there for you to check out. And make sure to follow us. Just look for the Date Night Horror Show, and you'll find us there. You'll see the clicker costume. You'll see our previous costumes from the past. You'll see the Grinch costume that I did this year. And we're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep posting videos on there. I think what we do with our costumes is very visual. So we're going to do a lot on TikTok, and you don't want to miss out on that. If you'd prefer to find us on Facebook, the Date Night Horror Show, you can find us there, and you can find our pages there. We're on Instagram as well, at Date Night Horror Show, all one thing. And if you want to write us an email, just send it to the Date Night Horror Show, all one thing, at gmail.com.
We'll answer your question or talk about your recommendation on our podcast.
Great. Yeah, and if you love the show, please subscribe wherever you listen and rate wherever you listen. And if you do it on Apple Podcasts, please rate us there and leave a review there. That's what helps us the most, and we greatly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you all so much for listening. Happy 2024. I hope everyone has an amazing year.
Yeah.
Full of horror.
Okay, I think we're done.
Scare you later.
The Date Night Horror Show is written and produced by Enzo and Reina. All music written and produced by Enzo. Follow the show on Facebook.com/The Date Night Horror Show. Find Enzo and Reina online at TheDateNightHorrorShow.com.